What was the most awkward interaction you have ever had with your crush? We were messaging about the homework in our class when he asked for my opinion on a poem he wrote for his crush. I had some hope that it was me and this was gonna be a cute way for him to tell me. Nope. It was actually a poem for his crush and he used her name in it. I said it was good even though it kinda hurt inside. There was a girl I had a huge crush on when I was 15 who asked me to put a good word in with my friend for her because she said he was cute. I did not take it well, lol. Finally asked a girl out, and she eagerly accepted. About halfway through the date, she turns to me and says, "You know what? I've decided to stay with my fiancé." Not sure what's worse, finding out she has a fiancé, or realizing that it was your company that drove her back into his arms. Back in high school, I was talking to my crush out in the lunch court, and a bird shat on my face, If this took place in the UK, that's a lot worse. Went for a hug and she went for a handshake, then started to go for a shake and she went for hug. It lasted a while. My dad was watching from the car. Lol, he was so embarrassed for me. I'll take intimate contact that feels like a slap for 500, Alex. When I was a freshman in college, there was a crazy hot girl I would have happened to not mind going out with. She was also my little sister's dance teacher. Anyway, we're walking to class and thinking I would be a chivalrous gentleman, I reached to open the door for her. Except instead of grabbing the handle I completely missed and only grabbed air. I managed to catch myself before I got the ground, but that was the last time we walked to class together. This happens to me way more often than I'd care to admit. Completely miss the door handle and almost go face first into the dang door. Getting red as a tomato when he comes even near you is horrible. This happens to me whenever I talk to people about things I'm excited or passionate about. Thanks, social anxiety and being bullied about my interests as a kid. And it's so embarrassing because people see my face go red and assume it's because I have a crush on whoever I'm talking to. I'm like, no, I'm married and my face just does this. When she told me that she liked me while we were the last two waiting to be picked up by our respective parents after a school trip, and I asked why, I had horrible self-esteem issues as a kid. I too would ask them why, also if they've checked their eyesight lately. I was flirting with a guy for like 2 years. It was obvious we liked each other, but something always came up and we never admitted it. Plus he was kinda hesitant at times. So he finally tells me he really likes me. I say I like him too. We make plans to see each other. I come. The first thing he does without even saying hi, he goes in for a kiss, and as he's coming in I can see it's not gonna go well because he opened his mouth like he was swallowing something huge. So he basically opened his mouth so much that he didn't even touch my lips but went around and swallowed 1/3 of my face. So he stayed in that position for a few seconds, without moving his mouth at all, and then backed away saying, "Ugh, it's obvious you're not experienced." Oh, it was the most awkward thing in my life. We didn't speak for some time after that and he told people that I'm a bad kisser. BTW, we're 25. I'm sorry this happened to you and this sucks, but the visual you gave was just too funny. Last weekend she wanted to take selfies with me at a birthday party, and for whatever reason I always make the weirdest faces when I know my picture is being taken. She got frustrated and just gave up. I'm going to ask her out on Saturday though, so wish me luck. I salute to you. We were at her place. She's sitting on the couch and her purse is next to her. I grab her purse to move it so I can sit next to her, and then some tampons fall out. She quickly gets up and puts them away. I've never seen her move so fast before. Now she's not my wife. No idea why this made me laugh so much. We played truth or dare in a large group. 3 guys, 1 girl. All of us guys had a crush on her. At the time I had a goatee and she was dared to lick it, so she used her tongue to draw a wet circle all the way around my mouth. She had really bad breath and I could smell her saliva all day. It was a miserable experience. Real odd strap to tell the girl you like to lick some other dude's beard. Was going home chatting with a girl I had a crush on, but hadn't seen her for a while. She told me she lost some weight, so I complimented her. Nice job. Then it hit me that she struggled with anorexia, which was the reason she was gone for a while. In therapy, I wanted to sink in the ground. Dang, that's fricked. That would work great as some sort of dark humor, but that's fricked. I'd been hospitalized, and he came to visit me, 14 at the time. The second he walked in, one of my monitors started beeping loudly cause my heart rate had spiked. He noticed. My mom noticed. His dad noticed. My leg went numb in class and I got up to return a book and fell on the floor, almost on him, and couldn't get back up. Help, I've fallen, and I can't get up. Hanging out in my room playing video games. Thought she moved toward me for a kiss so I did the same. She was reaching for a different controller. It was brutal. At least she shared a common interest with you, liking video games. Back in my teens when after going out for a while, one evening I blurted out that I loved her. She told me that fat people love cake and look at where that gets them. Oof, I felt that. When I declared myself for her, she asked why I liked her and it was hard for me to explain. After that she compared to why people like strawberries. There doesn't have to be a reason. Then she told she liked me only as a friend. My siblings laughed their asses off when I told them this story. So many. I purposely would walk to my classes the same routes that I knew he would be. One had these set of stairs that I would pass him going down while I was going up. One day on I zoned out looking at him and next thing I knew I tripped face planting. My stuff went everywhere, and insult to injury he kept going while laughing at me. Another time I saw him outside a Kmart only to zone out again and walked right into a pole with my face. He was just that mesmerizing. Seriously, it had nothing to do with the mating call of a socially awkward girl. If he walked away laughing and didn't help you get up and gather your stuff, or at least ask if you need help, he probably is in butthole and not worth your time emo. It wasn't a crush, per se, but a guy at a party I thought was cute and had my eye on. It was in my uni days, on a Sunday, and I had been invited to a keg race. Basically you get a team of 5-6 people, a keg, and all go to a house. First team to finish wins. And I don't want to brag, but my team won. So next thing I know, everyone is up on the roof. I'm sitting up there, cut as anything, when the overwhelming need to pee hits. My drunk butt brain thinks I got myself up here. I can get down too. I go over to the edge of the roof. There is about half a meter between the house and the fence, with some large bins sitting there. Okay, I think to myself, gently make your way to the bin. Use the fence as support. Small drop down. We're fine. That was the plan. The execution was that I just stepped off the side of the roof, bounced my way down between the fence and the house, and landed in a pile on gravel, right in front of the guy. I remember it clearly. He was just walking, and a drunk girl just falls from the sky right in front of him. He went, "Oh my god, are you okay?" I jumped up, cool as anything, a confused look on my face as I said, "Yeah, of course. I'm fine," as if I do this all the time and it didn't hurt at all. For the rest of the party everyone kept coming up exclaiming they heard I fell from the roof. I got my friend to pick me up and had to make him pull over so I could vomit. The next day I could barely move. If that's not a scene in a romantic comedy, it needs to be. Glad you weren't seriously hurt other than being obscenely sore the next day. When I was 13 my crush asked me out via Facebook and then said psych lol. I laughed with him at the time but that crap hurt. Sorry, my cousin sent that. Seniors in high school. He's tall, dark, and handsome, slightly moodly. I'm the aggressively friendly soprano. After a fun day together at a choral festival, he was stage crew. He gave me his number. He called the next day. We spoke for hours. He brought up that he and his dad had moved here from FL. Me. Oh, really? I always thought the kids would go with the mom in a divorce. Him. They're not divorced. Me. Incredulous. What? Is she dead? Him. Yeah, I, too, died right then and there. I tried desperately to salvage the call, but ended up figuring I'd never see him again. Saw him the next day at school. He smiled and patted me on the head saying, "I get it. You had no way to know. We're good. Married for 20 years now. I get it. You had no way to know. We're good. You picked a good one to marry." Holding hands on Valentine's Day, 2 weeks ago, but not as you might think. She is just a friend, not my girlfriend, and the situation is by no means a romantic one. I stagger through the door and drop into bed after realizing I'm too drunk to party on but unfortunately not drunk enough to vomit it all out. I begin to question whether the last 4-5 shots of vodka actually were a good idea, as I assure my friends that I'm fine and they leave the room to find me a sick bucket. Said girl takes a seat beside me. The first thing my hand inadvertently reaches for is her hand, and eventually I start mumbling incoherently about how I like her, how I value her presence and encourage her about the upcoming examination phase. From what I can tell, the poor girl looks worried, but smiles a little. Then I manage to fall asleep, holding her hand, at 1 AM on Valentine's Day. Well, that was definitely worth the following hangover. That sounds like a nice moment. I've always been big on platonic affection. Got paired with the uber hot cheerleader for a chemistry project. I started tapping my pencil against the top of the desk due to nerves. Somehow it flew out of my hand, hit eraser first, then ricocheted into her eye. She had to go to the nurse and hated my guts, all without me saying a single word. Dude, how hard were you tapping it, that it ricocheted off of the eraser into her eye? When he kissed me the first time I immediately dropped my head. I needed a second to process cause I'd been into him for a while at that point but was too timid to make the first move. I see how it probably looked to him and promptly apologized and explained. Happy to report we've been together 5 years now. I guess life just has a tendency to go from awkward to awesome. Need to set the scene a little for this one. Had an awkward well then won't they thing with this lady for like 2 years. She was an awkward, shy type of girl in that really endearing way. I was into her but never realized she was into me, so never made a move. She was shy and never made a move. We both were in and out of relationships over this period also. We were never single at the same time, so there was never any momentum to get together. It was just one of those things. You're into someone, nothing comes of it, you move on. She lived with a friend of mine at the time in a house share, which is how we met originally. One night I was drinking with my mate watching movies and she decided to join us, which happened occasionally. Only this time she was single and I'd recently, literally a week earlier, become single. 2 years of pent-up emotion. Why has this not happened before? Steamy time happened that night. Next morning, while still in her bedroom, my ex called me to advise she had chlamydia and I should go get tested to be safe. Naturally I was obliged to pass on that message and completely crush this poor girl, and doing so still makes me cringe a decade later. I asked her what her favorite dinosaur was completely randomly. Update. She said T-Rex was, which was not the answer I would like to have heard. If you were in kindergarten at that time, you would have been the crap. I still cringe when I think about my first solo date back in high school. I had a huge crush on this girl, thought she was really cool and I loved her art, and I couldn't believe she said yes. We went to the zoo because it was free and we were just broke teenagers and we had a blast. Afterwards we went to grab some food at this place before having to split off to go home. Our trains were heading in the opposite directions and the entrances were across the street from each other, so I walked with her to her side to say goodbye. I closed my eyes and awkwardly leaned in to give her a kiss goodbye, and she went in more for a hug. I ended up headbutting her in the face and her nose started bleeding. I was so embarrassed and didn't know what to say, so I just asked, "Are you okay?" She replied, "I think so." Still not knowing what to do, I just said, "Okay, bye," and then ran across the street to catch my train. It was so painfully awkward and embarrassing. I avoided her for weeks after that. In 9th grade or so, I was walking down a stairwell at school. I saw that my crush and one of her friends were standing at the bottom, talking. I decided to play cool and kind of skip down the stairs. Unfortunately, I slipped and fell down the last 3 or 4 steps, landing on my butt a few feet away from them. I never skipped down steps again after that. I got invited to a New Year's party with a bunch of her friends in her basement. It was a ton of fun at first, but for whatever reason social anxiety hit me like a ton of bricks and I burned out fast. I sat in a corner for 15 minutes trying to get over it, but I had to leave before midnight. Dang, I feel you, that crap sucks. There was this really cute girl at a function I was at in college. I got the nerve to go ask her out on a whim. To break the ice, I asked her where she went to school. She replied with arbitrary college 2 hours away. I just stared at her and said, "Oh, never mind," turned around and walked away. We are getting married in May. Arbitrary college has some great programs. I've been crushing on the same dude for a while. It was a super hot next summer and I bought a new AC and texted him this AC is the only adult toy we'll ever need. And he ghosted me for a year. Yeah dude, she wanted to shove an air conditioner up my butt. Glad I got out of that one. I ran into him at the door and it was the end of our work shift. And I saw him coming, so I wanted to prepare myself, just being casual, okay, just say by smelling beef. And when he said chow, I said chai instead of bye. Wanna give you the I'm deceased award but I'm too poor. I asked her out on a date. I went to pick her up and she had another guy with her. He was just a friend who was over. She asked if he could tag along. My young stupid self said sure. We get to the theater, he had no money so I stupidly paid. We sit down, movie starts. I go to hold her hand and she pulls her hand away and starts making out with him. I sat there in shock for a few minutes. Then I got up and left. I was there right, they had no money to call anyone. She was pissed at me. They ended up walking home, which was a few miles away. Stupid at first, nut, you did the right thing in the end. I ain't letting no girl bring her guy friend with her on what's supposed to be a date. Saw my high school crush at a party probably 5 years after high school. She was so pepped up on Adderall she just kept yammering on about people I don't know at a mile a minute pace. That was the day my crush on her died. Dang, that's sad. I remember back in I think 10th grade, I really liked this girl for at least 2 years. Well, being the socially awkward virgin I was, I never made a move. She and I were good friends, and one day in one of our classes we were joking around and for whatever reason we just stopped talking and awkwardly stared at each other for what felt like an eternity. Finally we broke eye contact and just went back to normal. What's tragic is homecoming was coming up and I knew she wanted me to ask her, but I couldn't work up the courage to do it. The class dickhead asked her and they dated for a little while. Last I heard she got pregnant young by a druggie and lived a rough life for a while. I think she's doing fine now though. Funny how life works, thinking about the paths we didn't take, wondering of what could have been. Bold of you to assume I have ever had an interaction with my crush. You'll get there buddy, don't worry. I had a car crash with her as a passenger, the kind that totals your car and gets it crushed into a cube. Fair to say that was awkward, but we've been together ever since. My boyfriend of 8 years now got into his first accident ever on our first date. It was just a minor fender bender but he freaked out. I just told him that crap happens and to calm down. They didn't even exchange insurance information. It was that minor. We're both actors. There was a part in the play where she was supposed to pretend to kick me in the balls. She didn't pretend. She was very apologetic after and we are now dating. Fatality. Was about to tell her I liked her, then she confessed that she was homophobic. I am also a girl. Dang, that's some Matrix level dodging. When I was in 3rd grade I tried to pop up from behind and tickle my crush. She turned around and said hey WTF. I just stared at my hands. Elevator. We almost kissed, but due agent being a student, it did not happen. Oof. Big fat F. That had to hurt emotionally. Like this video and this good boy will play you a nice song. Like and subscribe, you magnificent person.